Greetings, everybody. Nickie Brown here. No matter where you are and what part of the world you are in, I hope that you are having a good day. So, today I wanted to talk about communication, right? Communication, more specifically, in a romantic relationship. I'm going to be very specific. And I'm pretty much going to focus on communication and the five love languages. Um, I, I've been watching the new season of Put a Ring on It, which is on the Oprah Winfrey Network. And basically, it follows three couples on their journey to decide whether or not they're going to get married or break up. Um, some of these couples have been together various amount of years. I saw season two last season, and I just started watching season three. So the three couples in season three, which we're only two episodes in, they've all been together for 3 years. And then I started watching season one, and one of the couples has been together for 9 years. The other one, 6 or 7. I think the other two maybe 7, maybe 1 7 and 1 6, or 1 7 and 1 8, something somewhere between 7 and 8. The other two, so pretty significant. Two of them, they're saying they're best friends, yet he's saying he's not ready for marriage with her. But they broke up for 3 years and he got engaged to someone else. So, in communication for me, I respect open and honest communication, right? I don't care what the truth is, I still want to hear it. People will say, oh, women don't want to hear the truth. Don't tell me what I want to hear. I'm telling you that I want to hear the truth. I don't care what the truth is. I would like to hear it, right? Perhaps you can't handle the reaction you may get, or perhaps you just don't want to tell the truth. So that's the truth. But I think too, a lot of times people start to accuse the other person instead of, again, being honest. A lot of people lie to themselves. Not only to other people, people lie to themselves. We lie to ourselves. I've been guilty of this. I do my best to, again, be open and honest with myself. However, there have been times where I lied to myself and maybe didn't say how I was really feeling or how I was thinking, because I didn't want to be vulnerable to somebody I didn't feel safe with. And I think that's part of what it is. For some reason, some people don't feel safe with their partner. The partner may have cheated, or the other partner may even suspect the person of cheating because of their own fears and insecurities, whether or not it's perceived or reality. One of the dynamics of the show is that the couples have to go on a date with another person. So, male and female, you have them, exhibiting some very extreme, jealous behaviors, to the point where, even when some of the spouses come home, oh, well, you need to take a shower. This is an accusation. Now, one of them said you need to take a shower because you smell like outside, which is understandable because they did go riding bikes in the park. But then there was another couple who, and this is the new season, so the season where yeah, the guy said you smell like outside. That was season one. So in season three was another situation. It was like, oh, you need to take a shower. This was coming from an accusatory perspective, though. So, but he alluded to the fact that potentially, he said, I know what happened when we went out on our first date. So I'm not sure if he was saying that perhaps they slept together on the first date. So again, this makes him feel insecure. Although he chose this woman to be in a relationship with, he knows what happened on their first date. Whatever that means. But again, he's not sharing his truth that I feel. And this is the whole thing. A lot of times people don't communicate well because they don't say the truth. You're not saying how you feel or what you're thinking. You're automatically accusing. Oh, well, since you went out with somebody, that must mean you hugged them, you kissed them, or you had sex with that person. And I think that's extreme insecurity from my perspective. I've been in relationships like that, and that's no fun. And not to say that I did everything the right way, because there was a situation where I was wrong in that I should have handled it different, but I still did not have sex with that person. And to this day, that person thinks, first of all, who are you that you think that I have to lie to you about something that happened almost 30 years ago? I know who I am and I know what I did. And in that particular situation, this person cheated on me, right? And had been cheating for a very long time. And I had already started emotionally distancing myself from this person. So this person ended up then going away for 9 months. And so that allowed me the time to get over this person, right? Then this person's mother said, "Oh, you need to date. You always in the house not doing anything. You should date." And I was like, "Really? Are you serious?" And she was like, "Yes. But for me, I only want to date one person at a time. This is just me, right? I feel like if I get pregnant or something, happens, I would like to know who it was. I don't want to have to guess, oh, it might have been this one, might have been that one." That's just me. This is not me judging, right? That is just how I am and what I think, right? The way that I choose to do things and the way that I choose to show up in the world. But at the same time, I feel like if you're the type of person that feels like you can't just be with one person, when you meet someone, you need to say that. When you meet someone, you need to say, "I'm in a relationship," or "I live with someone," if that is your situation. If you want a polygamous situation, this is what I want. I think that there again, it's about being open and honest, but don't blindside somebody or just force it or try to force it on them by being charming. You know, omission is a lie, right? Because you're not telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, right? So by omitting this information, you're essentially lying. And so now that you've lied to me, I feel like I can't trust you. And so that would be the person's truth. I don't trust you because I feel as if you lied or you dishonored me or you betrayed me. Instead of, "Oh, because you did so and such and such, that must mean you had sex with this person." Because that's not what it means. It doesn't mean you hug this person. But then, too, on the flip side of that, sometimes when somebody's accusing, it's because they're guilty. They've done this act. And some people, which I think is so petty, like I've experienced this as well, because some of the women or the men went out. "Oh, well, it mainly was the men who said this. "Oh, well, because you went out with this person, oh, I'm going to have my date too. Let me see what I'm going to do on my date." Almost as if it's a tit for tat. "Oh, well, since he gave you flowers, I'm going to give her flowers." That's so immature. One has nothing to do with the other. And if that's not what you would normally do or how you would normally behave, but if in your mind you think that this person hugged, kissed, or slept with somebody else, now you're going to go out and do the same thing because you think that that person did that. And it's so petty and childish and immature. And again, it's a lack of communication. So when you have someone that is open and honest in their communication, even if you don't like what they said, they're still open and honest in their communication, but then the other person does not believe it and they proceed according to what's the thoughts in their mind, this breeds toxicity. This to me is a toxic cocktail. This is not a healthy functioning relationship, right? Again, it's toxic. So then we go into the love languages. And so you have some people that need words of affirmation. They need those compliments. They need to hear that they've done a good job or that you appreciate them. To affirm that, this is where I want you to be. And you have some people that, and so with the love languages, it's basically, if you take the test, there's a scale of 1 to 10. So in words of affirmation, you might have an 8, but in physical touch, you may have a 3. Doesn't mean that you don't like to be touched, but you may like to be, you're not so, Some people like to hold hands and hug all the time and show public displays of affection, kissing in public and stuff like that. Whereas some people, they don't want to hold hands. Doesn't say anything about how they feel about you though. It's just lower on their list of priorities. It makes some people feel uncomfortable to touch in public. It makes some people feel uncomfortable to kiss in public. Some people don't want to kiss in front of elders or children. Again, this makes them feel uncomfortable. It doesn't have anything to do with how they feel about you though. But if you're with somebody who's more into physical touch, versus somebody, so you have somebody whose physical touch is a 9 and your physical touch is a 3, you have to kind of be willing to compromise. And if you're not, this makes the other person feel insecure or jealous. Why? How come you don't want to touch me? How come you don't want to be intimate with me as much as I want to be intimate with you? And I think it's good to know these things about each other. But when you don't know these things about each other, it can cause conflict. Because you're thinking that this person, oh, you must not like me, or you must like somebody else, or you must want to be with somebody else, when it's not that at all. Like, I know for me, and I think I've gotten past it somewhat. But for me, to hold hands in public, it feels like bugs are crawling up my arm. It like skeeves me out. And so I'll do it for a little while, and then I'll find a reason to let the person's hand go. Like, oh, look. And then, and sometimes the person may, grab my hand back again. And I'm like, oh, God. On the inside, I don't say that. I don't say that I'm freaking. This is freaking me out on the inside. Because I don't want that person to feel bad. But then later on, when things are calm and maybe you're not holding hands and you're not in that moment, I may say, I don't like it. It makes me feel uncomfortable. Right? I'm just not that. It doesn't have anything to do with you, though. It doesn't mean that I'm not attracted to you or anything, because in a private setting, because I'm a private person, in a private setting, things are going to be different. But in a public setting, but again, if you have somebody who's on an 8 and you're on a 2, it can make people feel some kind of way. But you have to be honest in your communication and say, I like this thing. I like to hold hands. And then you have to have someone who's willing to compromise and say, okay, I don't like holding hands, but I will do this for you. Sometimes. We can't do this all the time, though. But then you'll have some people who want to hold hands because they're feeling jealous and insecure. So there may be other men around or other women around. So they feel like they have to, especially, I see this all the time, and it's really funny. It makes me laugh. Because a guy may speak, right? I'll have a guy, he'll speak to me, hey, how you doing? And I'll say, hey, how you doing? Just because someone speaks doesn't mean they want to jump your bones or take your man, right? Or your woman. It's just common courtesy. And I think we've lost sight of that. Common courtesy and respect for other human beings. Does not mean you want to have sex with that person. But because I'm pretty, you'll see the insecurity. You'll see the jealousy. Because the woman might be across the room and all of a sudden she's, oh, hey, baby. She has to make a point of saying that she's with this person. I think that that's so insecure. I don't do stuff like that. And I don't knock anybody who does. I just don't do it. My man could be across the room talking to somebody. But I'm not going to feel insecure about that. I might be talking to somebody myself. And there's nothing wrong with that. Now, if you take it a step further in your, even flirting, it's harmless, right? But if you take it a step further and you're exchanging numbers or going out on dates, that's different. But I know a couple, and I've said this in another video, had been married at least 10 years. They would go into a store. He would go in one department. She would go in another because they're meeting their needs, right? He would flirt with the female cashiers to try to get a lower price, and she would flirt with the male cashier to get a lower price, or the salesperson, right? But then they're coming back together, and they're going home together. And so that little harmless flirting meant nothing. They have their boundaries, in that they felt secure in that, again, I'm going home with you. And that's my whole thing. At the end of the day, even if you go out to the club and you ride in somebody's butt, but you're coming home to me, I don't care. Right? You could come home and say, "Oh yeah, I had fun." I'm glad that you had fun. But also I'm glad that you were excited about coming home to me to share that with me as a friend. Like, I think you should have that open and honest communication where you should be able to tell your mate something without, it turning into an argument. Because in past relationships, when the person feels insecure or jealous, it could turn into hours and hours of going back and forth about nothing. Makes absolutely no sense. I remember one time, to the point where the conversation probably started at 9, 10 o'clock at night, maybe even 8 o'clock at night, and didn't end till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. That is ridiculous. That is stressful. And who wants to be with somebody who's going to constantly bring that amount of stress? Where anytime I go out or do something different, we have to have this long drawn out conversation when all it really boils down to is you're not saying that this made me feel uncomfortable. This made me feel insecure. This made me feel jealous, which is to me the mature way to handle it. Or even again, being able to handle, I trust this person, I trust this man, I trust this woman, and I don't think that this person would do that. Now, are there going to be times where that person may step out? Yes, it does happen. But I feel like if you have a good relationship with your partner, you have that open and honest communication, it lessens the likelihood of this happening. Again, does it happen? Absolutely. But if you have a good relationship with your spouse and you trust each other and you show that you can trust each other and you show up and you show out for each other. So if that person needs words of affirmation, although you may not be that type of person that likes to give compliments, again, you're at least willing to make that sacrifice. You know what? My man or my woman likes to hear encouraging words or compliments. So I'm going, I may not do it all the time, but I'm going to say, "Oh, you look handsome today," or "You look pretty today." Or, "I appreciate you for taking out the trash," and not taking it for granted like this is something that they're supposed to do. Or, "I appreciate you for cooking dinner." And again, not taking it for granted as if this is something that is supposed to do. And again, this is male or female. "I appreciate you for cutting the grass. I appreciate you for cleaning up the bathroom. I appreciate you for helping me cook. I like when you cook with me. It's fun when we do things together." Right? This is affirming that you enjoy this person's space, this person's company, and that you enjoy when you do things together. And that typically encourages this person to do it more instead of, "Oh, well, I'm always the one cooking," or "You don't never cook. I ain't never seen you wash the dishes. You don't never do. Instead of the accusations and the pointing of the fingers, there's a different way to handle it. Again, some people like physical touch. Some people want to be touched in public. They want you to put your hand on the small of their back, their booty, their whole arms, whatever the case may be, right? Quality time. There's a lot of polygamous relationships nowadays, and some women are okay with that because they want their own personal space, right? Some men are okay with being in a polyamorous a polyandrous relationship because again, they need their space. And polyandry is when a woman is dating multiple men or married to multiple men or in a committed relationship with multiple men. And polygamy is when a man is in a plural relationship with multiple women, usually anywhere from 2 to 4, right? But if you have someone who likes quality time, that may not necessarily work out well for them. It may, depending on the situation, depending on the dynamics. Some polygamous relationships, they live in separate households. Some they live in under the same roof. So it really depends on what that looks like. And she may be satisfied with the amount of quality time that he spends with her within that dynamic. Everybody's going to be different as far as that is concerned. But if you have someone that likes to hold hands in public, always wants to be with their man or woman, that's not going to work for them. Again, male or female. Some men don't want plural relationships. Some people feel like it's challenging enough to deal with one personality. And I'm of the thought process of you should have at least one healthy relationship before you try to add another. And a lot of people aren't in one healthy relationship. You don't even know how to be in a healthy relationship. So how are you trying to add other people into the mix? And you haven't even established a solid foundation with the one. But if you want polygamy, you should say that up front. Okay, I want to establish a solid relationship with you, but later on down the line, I may want to consider bringing somebody else on. Now, you may change your mind because, again, it's work. People like to think, oh, about the sex part of it, but no, being in relationships is work if you're doing it the right way. It challenges you to be a better version of yourself. Again, if you have somebody who wants open and honest communication and you're not a communicator, you have to be either willing to communicate better and more effectively in a more efficient and effective way, or you have to be willing to let that relationship go because it's not going to work. And if you do end up staying together just for the sake of staying together, you'll both be miserable because you're not compatible in that way. And this is one of the things that the show Put a Ring on It is about. Can we proceed, or do we need to go our separate ways? And another one of the guys, he started to realize it. He admitted, you know what, it's me. I'm part of the problem. I don't communicate because this woman went out on a date with another woman and she said, I like the fact that he communicates well. And at first he was jealous, but then he had to stop lying to himself and admit, I don't communicate well. I hold it in and I don't open up to you like I should. And so that's on me. So if I want to stay in this connection, I need to work on that. Then there's acts of service, right? Again, washing the dishes. There's some relationships where the woman doesn't cook, but the man cooks. And so again, it's a matter of showing your appreciation. I really like that you cook for me, right? And for him, that is an act of service. Cooking, taking out the trash, even cleaning up. Although some people see that as things that you're supposed to do, that's not true. And sometimes people take that for granted. It could also be opening doors, giving someone flowers, male or female. Sometimes men like flowers too. It's just the gesture of it all. But then if he knows that you like flowers and you bring him some flowers, he may, put them in a vase for you and sit them. He may if you're the type of woman who likes fresh flowers and you have them on the table, he may have gotten used to that. He may be someone who loves nature. And even though maybe he cooked, maybe you're the sous chef and you cut up the vegetables or onions and peppers or whatever the case may be, and then maybe you say, okay baby, thank you for cooking. I'm gonna put everything together and go get in bed. I'm gonna come join you, and you put everything on a tray. You pour the juice, you put a napkin, paper towel, whatever, and some cutlery, and you actually serve it to him, although he cooked it. Maybe he does the same thing for you. Maybe you rub each other's feet or rub each other's back. These are examples of acts of service. You're just doing something that you know that this person would like or even needs to have done. Like maybe you're a YouTube content creator and you're not good at editing, but your spouse knows how to edit. Or your spouse becomes the cameraman or woman. Or maybe there's some paperwork that you need help filling out and your spouse helps you to do that. There are different types of acts of service, but you're basically serving this person in a selfless way. And receiving gifts. I kind of touched on that before in terms of the flowers or doing certain things. So they can cross be cross-referenced, I guess, if you want to call it that. But then too, they're all separate at the same time. Um, but again, in terms of acts of service, you're serving this person in a way that you know that they like, and even if it's not something that you necessarily want to do. And even an example of holding hands could be that I'm serving you in this way because I know this is something that you like that I hate. Even cuddling, some people like to cuddle and some people don't. Like afterwards, like, you know, the guy wants to grab you around the neck. You might be like, it's hot. Like, I need my space. Back up a little bit. But you can't say that because that might hurt his feelings. So instead, you serve him in a way that, although it may make you feel uncomfortable or her uncomfortable, you're still willing to do it. Receiving gifts, again, flowers, candy, um, movie tickets, theater tickets, concert tickets, vacation tickets, you know, the flight, the hotel, all of that. Um, or something that you know that this person likes. Like you may know that this person is into gemstones and you just come home with some, um, I don't have any, you know, you may bring her or him a gemstone ring, right? That's what this is. Um, you may bring that person a ring. Doesn't have to be. It could, you know, it doesn't have to mean anything if you're not married and you don't want to get married. You know, it doesn't have to be like it's a friendship ring or whatever. It could be a necklace. It could be a bracelet. But again, if you know that that person is into gemstones, you can say, "Oh, I saw this and I thought you would like it." Right? Very simple. If this person is into playing cards, I don't know, you could go and get them a deck of cards with their name on it. Um, if this person likes to write, you could get them, go to someplace like Things Remembered and have their name engraved on a pen and pad set, or something along those lines. Um, if you know that this person likes to put oils in their diffuser, you say, hey, I saw some of these oils at the store and I know you into this kind of stuff, so I bought you some of these to go into your diffuser. Again, male or female, because men diffuse oils or burn oils too. um, Men sell doTERRA or whatever other, you know, products they're into. I've met some of them, and you know, I usually tell them that I get my own oils from someplace different, but you know, I've met a few guys who are into that. So it could be male or female, but you know that this person is into a particular thing or likes a certain thing, and you just go and you get that for them. And but then, like I was saying earlier, you may have someone who, I'm more of an acts of service type of person, right? I may not give you those words of affirmation every time, um, but I'm a doer. I'm gonna cook for you, or you know, rub your back, or whatever the case may be, right? That's my way of saying that I love you, right? Or that I enjoy your company, or that I want to be with you, or whatever that language is, or whatever that thing is. But again, if I have someone who needs those words of affirmation, he needs to hear, you know, certain things. He may feel insecure, or may feel like I'm not opening up, or may feel like whatever, I'm not into him, or um, that I never say how I feel or what I'm thinking, or whatever that may be. But again, it's my way of doing that is with acts of service. If I go to the mall, which I don't really go to the mall often, I haven't been to the mall in years. Well, I shouldn't say that. Anyway, um, there have been times in a relationship, if I went to the mall and I saw something that I thought my spouse would like, I'm picking out something for him too. I'm not just going to shop for myself. And I say, "Oh, I like this, and I think it would look good on him," and I would just buy it. Again, that's my way of saying that I care. I may not, give you a compliment every time you get a haircut, especially if you get the same haircut every time. Do you really need to hear a compliment? And you may. You may. You may need to hear a compliment every time you go get that same haircut. Or you may just need the overall in general. We're about to go out somewhere. Oh, you look handsome. You look good. Oh, I see you. Or even when you're going out to work or whatever the case. Oh, you look good. Who you trying to impress? That's something that I would say. But jokingly, not from an insecure or jealous way. But that's my way of saying, like, I think you look good. Even if I don't say the word, you look good, or I like that. Or what you trying to do? That may be my way of doing things, or her way of doing things, or his way of doing things. But sometimes you have to read between the lines with certain people and understand who you're dealing with as well. Again, it's a matter of compromise. But not only compromise, it's a matter of knowing who you're with and how they operate. And I think that's one of the reasons why I feel it's important that you get to know a person and you ask certain questions like, how do you show affection? Right? I think that's an important question. How do you need somebody to show affection? What makes you feel good? And even if you're not ready to have sex with a person, it's okay to sit next to them. Like if you go to a restaurant or bowling, the movies or whatever, it's okay for you to sit next to that person. Again, male or female, because everybody's different. Some men don't want to have sex right away. They want to take their time and get to know a woman, and vice versa with a woman. And so if somebody says, I want to take my time to get to know you, and the other person is like, I want to get it in early, that may be a point where you have to compromise, right? But, you may want to sit shoulder to shoulder, or, you're sitting across from each other at the table, you hold, you put your hand on top of that person's hand, or you lock arms. Or you allow that person to put their hand on your waist. It doesn't mean that you're about to have sex, but this is a form of intimacy. And some people, if they're into physical touch, they need that. You may rub that person's hair. Now, again, some of these things may turn this person on, but if you know you're not ready to go there, then you set that boundary accordingly, and you are open and honest in your communication about that. I would still like for us to get to know each other a little bit, before we go there. I find you attractive, though. You may need to say that. I find you attractive, handsome, pretty, whatever the case may be. But I think we should give it some time to get to know each other. And again, as you're getting to know each other, you're asking those pertinent questions. You're finding out what they want in a relationship versus what you want in a relationship, and whether or not this relationship could work. Because some people end up going there. Sometimes people end up having sex with each other and they haven't established what they want, or even figured out if this is the right person for them. And then months or weeks, months, years even later, they realize that this was never the right person for them, but they just stayed because they had sex too soon and developed an emotional attachment. Then too, you'll have a man who'll have sex with a woman and he's not that into her, maybe he feels like he's not ready for a relationship, but vice versa for women. Some women will say, well, he's not marriage material, but I'm, it's been a while, so I'm gonna just go ahead on and give him some and then go ahead on about my business because he's not the man that I would want to be with. And then one or both people can end up being butthurt. Especially for a man, it really bruises his ego for a woman to sleep with him and then not want to be bothered with him again. And of course, for women, it hurts a woman's feelings sometimes. Sometimes she's okay with it, but sometimes after the act, one or both of them have caught feelings. Or at least develop some type of attachment, whether it's a healthy attachment or an unhealthy attachment. Because sometimes it's codependency or a trauma bond. Maybe both of them drink or smoke weed and then they have sex, so now they have a trauma bond. Sometimes this is a karmic person who was only meant to teach you a lesson, and it ends up turning into way more than it was supposed to be to begin with. So then it becomes a toxic cocktail again, because you don't really know this person. You have not taken the time to get to know this person. And having sex with somebody does not allow you to get to know someone. Even asking certain questions, because certain people can lie. I feel like you need to spend time with the person and really get to know them. Asking questions is great, but people can be dishonest, especially in the beginning, because they're going to tell you what they think you want to hear sometimes, male or female, which I think is unfair, but it happens, right? So I think the best thing to do is to be honest about what you want and show up and, in the best way possible. But some people disagree with that and they do whatever they want to do, right? But then again, wonder why the relationship didn't work out, because it wasn't anything there to begin with. You just had sex and you enjoyed it, and so you kept having sex, but you didn't get to know each other. You don't really know anything about each other. Not for real, not deep down. You may know things about this person, but that doesn't mean you know this person deep down, inside and out, how they think, how they feel, especially if you have somebody who is quiet and something may happen and you, in your mind, it's like, oh, this person doesn't stand up for themselves because they're not saying anything. But in their mind, something totally different may be going on. And again, they may be thinking, okay, how do I get away from this situation? Or I know this ain't my husband, or this ain't my wife. But they just swept it under the rug because maybe it wasn't so important to them. Like, I don't care what this person do, because again, this is not my husband or my wife or my partner. So they're going to continue to do them and let you do you and not say anything. But then sometimes people, again, catch feelings. And so then all of a sudden now they're jealous. and it goes left. So I basically said all this to say, if you want something to work out, again, for myself personally, I don't care what the truth is. I just want to hear it up front, and I don't want to feel like I've been deceived or blindsided. And then the truth comes out later. I would like to hear it up front. Otherwise, I can't trust you, right? So if it's, oh, well, I just got out of a relationship, or I'm still in a relationship, or I live with somebody, or I'm separated, or I don't want to be in a relationship, or I don't want to be in a relationship with you, but I'd like to have fun with you. If it's, I'd like to see where things go, but I'm not sure what I want. If it's, I'm bisexual. If it's, I have several other female friends that I'm seeing at the same time. Maybe you're not in a relationship, but you're just seeing other people, right? Again, whatever the truth looks like, I would just like to hear it. Don't force something on somebody. Allow them to decide. And you never know what a person is willing to put up with if you give them a choice. Again, I've said this. I met a polygamist, and he said the first thing he said to his now wife was, I can't see myself having sex with just one woman for the rest of my life. And she said, okay. Now, whether or not that was really her truth, I don't know. But she was at least open to the idea of having a polygamous relationship. And for the most part, he's free to do what he wants to do. Now, she's not, which I think is unfair. But that's none of my business, because that's their relationship, and that's what they agreed upon when they got together. Then you have a couple like Will and Jada who had an open relationship, and pretty much they're both free to do whatever they want to. But again, that's something that they communicated up front, and they didn't hide that from each other. And I think that's what makes a better relationship, when you both can be open and honest about what you think, about how you feel, and about what you want in a relationship. And so that's another point. Do you even know what you want in a relationship? Because that's important too. And that's another good question to ask someone. What do you want in a relationship? What do you want in a partnership? Do you want a partnership? Do you want to build? Do you want to leave a legacy? Or do you just want to go to work, go out to eat, buy drinks, eat out, and buy, things? Maybe have an insurance policy, but that's about it. Maybe have a house, maybe not. Maybe live in an apartment, maybe not. Maybe live on a farm, maybe not. What does the other person want though? And is that compatible? And if it's not compatible, are you willing to sacrifice, but not sacrifice who you are? Are you willing to say, okay, well, maybe we won't own a house, but maybe we'll get a townhouse or a condo, right? Because you really want to be a homeowner, or you want to rather own than rent. Whereas this person is like, nah, I just want to keep renting. So then you make this sacrifice and you stay in a renting, knowing that this goes against your sensibilities, and you're miserable the whole time. And then you complain, I hate this apartment. I hate, I'm sick of living in this place, or whatever the case may be. But it's because you weren't honest with yourself or that person. Or you allowed that person to change who you are. When again, once you realize certain things aren't compatible, I think it's best to go your separate ways very early from the beginning, instead of just continuing on. But that's just my thoughts. Because again, sometimes people will realize this is not the right person for me in the beginning, yet they will still go on and then complain the whole time. And I think that that's unfair. But again, that's just me in my opinion. That's just my 2 cents, right? So, that was my spiel about communication and the 5 love languages. Um, and what I think that looks like, and how I think that that should show up in your life, right? Um, and perhaps watching a show like Put a Ring on It will help you to put things into perspective in your own relationship. Perhaps seeing a coach, such as myself, I am a master life coach. So perhaps something like seeing a coach or even a counselor, or even if you feel like you need to see the pastor, um, or an elder, seek counsel from somewhere, traditional or non-traditional. If you feel like you're having issues in your relationship that you could work on, um, Dr. Simone is great, but of course this is a TV show, right? There are other TV shows. If you want to be on a reality show and put all your business out on Front Street, of course that is an option as well. But if you just want to get help and keep your situation private, again, there are several options that you can utilize in order to build a better bond, or decide to go your separate ways, right? I love y'all. I hope that this was helpful, and you can always reach out to me if you need to. Later.